Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's time to take you through the dailies today. We've got Steve Nwosu here with us. He is the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Nigerian Express. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Shambhala.
Let's start off with The Guardian. And controversy as Buhari sacks Osinbajo's aides. And then the writer says, no Cold War in Aso Rock. Presidency insists. This was initially reported in a hush-hush tone, not mainstream, but now it's on the front page, and then they say, look, there's no Cold War. It means they're just telling us we're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Well, we've had it coming for quite some time. Unfortunately, the president appoints the aides of the VP. So he's also free to take them out when he wants. But then we'll be lying to ourselves if we say there's no Cold War. It's not the first we're seeing it in Nigeria. We heard it when Atiku and Obasanjo had their issues, and you saw as soon as Obasanjo got back his second term, he started clearing people, including the current Shehu Garba, who speaks for the president now. He was kicked out from the team when Obasanjo won his re-election. So it's something they've always had coming. They can't keep denying to us that there's nothing amiss. Yes, maybe not as big as we are trying to make it, but there's definitely there's cause for concern between the relationship of the president and his deputy. And even if he's not the president doing it, those around the president doing this is, we had it coming all along.
And you know, the thing about that is, pardon me, is that, you know, when you said it's the president that appoints the aides, but sometimes too, I mean, some of them seconded to the office of the vice president. And as a matter of fact, you know, there's usually that, well, maybe not confusion, but because of the way the presidency is, people just think, oh yeah, they're supposed to be together. So when that happens, they think no. But now that this is hitting the headlines, it does suggest, as you say, that there really is something going on.
Sure. There must be something. There must be something going on. I think, like people are saying that maybe Osinbajo it might even be time to throw in the towel and say, look, I've had enough.
Did they ever throw in the towel like in this country?
But somebody can start it.
But why would he? Because of this?
When you're surrounded, when it's like you're being kind of settled in, and you don't have anybody that you can that can whisper something to you when something is going amiss. I mean, you need such people around you. But then when they now have to...
I don't know the grapevine you got your information from, but your information is on the front page of Daily Independent here. Yeah. One of the writers says...
Yeah, but we've not finished with that.
Yeah, no, just... it's a related...
Too fast, bro.
What do we say in a related development?
Yeah, but before that relationship comes, there's another one at the bottom strip here. So we'll come to that one. Let's look at this one. Senate under fire over fresh move against social media. Bill seeking 3 years jail for false reports passes first reading. Well, this will always generate a lot of hue and cry.
Yeah.
You know, but...
As a journalist, you know what they say about old women and dry bones and proverbs. I'm not too comfortable with it. I also have this feeling that we have in our statutes as they exist enough laws to deal with the miscreants on I called some of them internet terrorists, some of them social media rats and stuff like that. There are people that play pranks on the social media, no doubt. But then by the time you give this government or these politicians, as I want to say, a step, they will take a mile. Because oftentimes when these laws come up, there's something that we are not seeing, that they are not telling us. And then by the time that issue is addressed, then we would have created the Frankenstein monster that we can't control any longer. But if you ask me, there are things in our laws that can deal with the infractions that are currently going on in the social media. We don't have to come out every time that we feel uncomfortable and something and enact a new law. That's just one.
Also, yes, you know, you're correct. Many people believe that there are enough laws, there are enough, you know, things here and there. Yeah. But are you're not comfortable with this position of government, but are you comfortable with the kind of, just as you said, terrorism on social media?
Nobody is. Not.
So what do we do?
Not even. There has to be. Look at our statutes. Like we were in this country when a bank MD, although there was some kind of what do I call it, Toluwole approach to it, the kind of rough tactic to it, but he took some people to court over things they reported on the social media that didn't go, and even somebody that did subsequent reporting of what was reported also went in for it. So it's not, they just try the law. There's somebody publishes something, you can pick him up.
Okay.
We'll come back to
that
because it's still on some of the front pages. But take a look at what's on the back page of the Guardian Sports this morning. Countdown to 2021 AFCON qualifier. At least this is not 2023, Mark. Look at what it says now. Raw arrives Saturday as Eagles begin training November 10. Senegalese referees to officiate Squirrels clash. But, you know, many times when you see headlines about Super Eagles, one always wonders, are we ever going to get to that point where we were number 5 in the world?
Eagles and Squirrels. You know the funny thing, unlike most people, I believe after the 1994 Eagles, the ones that hit that number 5 in the world, this set is probably one of the best collection of individual talents. People who are playing in top clubs, commanding regular first team shots. Raw just has to find a way of welding these guys together. Before we would have said Squirrels, a walk in the park for the Eagles. But now, considering what how we were messed up 4-0 the other day, and what is going on, every team, no minnows again in this football. So we have to be serious about it. But then we can get there. We need. I'm not a great fan of Raw, but for some reason he has identified some of the best talents we have at this moment. Is how to now weld them together into a cohesive winning team and with the right attitude. It's young and I think we can go places. We can get there again, but then we need to work on this team.
On a lighter note, some people still wonder why all African teams have names of animals: lions, squirrels, eagles. But that's a story for
England
another
is
day.
3 lions.
So we're not alone.
All right, the Daily Independent leads with presidency silent on sack of Osinbajo's aides, denies relegating vice president's office, and the second rider, which is the development the other time, VP should fight the cabal or resign, says Osekome. So someone has started it.
I'm not alone. By the time you come and, be a deputy governor, vice president, vice chair, whatever, is one of the most dangerous positions to ever occupy, because you will be sitting there harmlessly doing your job, and some people will just be passing stories and doing things about you. So you have a permanent problem, as if there will always be something woven around you, whether you like it.
But their job, those deputies, is what their principal tells them.
Their principal tells them. So now, when people come between you and your principal, there's a problem.
Okay, let's move on. Right under the pictures on the front page of Daily Independent, Senate proposes 14-year jail term for Randy lecturers. Bill to increase VAT passes second reading. Let's pay attention to the first one. Senate proposes 14-year jail term for Randy lecturers. This is a long time coming. This is the second time the bill is being proposed.
My happiness about this is that almost over 100 senators rose for this. We had done things that when we first came around, before even the sexual harassment thing, we said something about child marriage. We used to have a joke of somebody who married a 13-year-old girl, and it was all over. My colleague at the summit met him one day and said, "Your Excellency, somebody said you married a 13-year-old girl." I said, "Don't mind them. The girl is 14. So, but the truth is, we've had this coming. I'm not happy that somehow we are not saying because of religion, because of anything, that some people are kind of dragging over it. We are together on this, and we need to come. Even I'm thinking 14 years is even too small for it, and then we should take it beyond even the National Assembly, workplace. In the universities, you see lecturers harassing young girls, bad enough. In the workplace, you see people harassing married women, and sometimes hide your file because you have refused to sleep with somebody. It's that bad. So it's not the university we use as a scapegoat for now, and then we should go the whole hog. Yes, we can start from somewhere. They said to look at what was it now about that, whether consent or no consent and all that. We can some students actually harass their lecturers. It's either way. Some women harass men.
So it will be interesting to see the clauses in that bill.
Yes.
So that it will be all encompassing. But we'll come back and take a look at some more papers, both here as well as the ones we've got in Abuja. Stay with us. All right, let's go ahead and get the ones we have in Abuja as well. Markwe?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. They focused very heavily on this story around the rift in the presidency. You see there on the front page of Daily Trust, Presidency says no rift as Buhari sacks Oshibajo's aides. VP retrieves dismissal letters is the writer to that particular story. It would seem that they have been following very strongly. The story is on page 5, and if you let me, Daily Trust takes it to another level, takes it a notch higher to say why it is that they suspect that this rift exists. They actually put out some actions that define sour relationship between Buhari and Oshibajo, and the timeline starts from September 16 up until yesterday, November the 6th. So you might want to pick up a copy of Daily Trust. But Mr. Nwosu, you have seen this and you have already reacted to it, so I'm not going to take you up on it again. However, I'm very tempted to just ask you, do you believe the denial?
Well, face-off is not only about throwing fisticuffs. I will take that denial with a pinch of salt. In fact, a tablespoon of salt. I don't believe it.
Okay, that's forthright enough. At the bottom of the paper there, you see Senate proposes 3-year jail for social media violators. Motion to scrap post-UTME divides reps. Chinda, others face sanctions over House minority leadership tussle. And at the bottom here, Bayelsa poll, Jonathan's mom prays for APC governorship candidate success. I don't know which one of these headlines is piquing your interest right now, but it's very easy to forget that elections are coming up in a few days in both Kogi State and Bayelsa. What do you make of the fact that I decided to play up this one? Jonathan's mom prays for APC governorship candidate success. What do you make of the politics going on in Bayelsa right now?
Bayelsa politics, I suspect there's a lot of issue of survival and just self-interest and how do I put it? Bayelsa politics is going, I'm scared. I might be going that direction just to see what is happening. But I'm scared that like Kogi and Bayelsa, it is a question of choosing who should fire at you this time around. Kogi, is it the thugs that fire at you? Bayelsa, is it the government or federal troops that will shoot at you? But there's still trouble. Bayelsa politics is loaded. There's clearly a kind of body language from the camp of the former president that they are not too happy about what is going on. I guess it has to do with the way positions were shared out. But I think the governor has reached out fair enough to all of them. But then the president, the former president is a statesman. If the PDP, I'm sure if the PDP flag bearer goes to see the mom tomorrow, she will also pray for him. So that praying for the APC person doesn't mean that that the former president is backing APC, or that even his wife is backing APC, even though she's made some moves that might make one think otherwise. But I'm sure if the senator flying the two senators flying the PDP flag go there tomorrow, she will also pray for them. She won't send them back.
Some people say that's advice you've given to the PDP candidates, but let me quickly ask you this one. What do you make of the comments that the candidates in the Bielsa polls, both from the APC and PDP, are lackluster?
PDP and APC, and I didn't get that quite well. The candidates for the election.
I think some comments have been on to the effect that they are not very interesting candidates. What do you say to that?
I think that would be unfair. That would be unfair to say, yes, maybe because some of us in the press try so much to corner the man in the APC to give us a few press interviews and things, and was as if he was dodging. At least I know we've been able to get the PDP person. We are still trying the APC person. But then it doesn't mean that they are that colorless. If you're on ground in the politics, you will know I know the senator representing the PDP because I've known him for a very long time. I know the one that is his running mate. The APC guys, I know a lot of them. Of course, they've had the issue in the problem, you can say, is a problem within the APC itself. But outside that problem within the APC, it's not like they are complete pushovers too. It will be a very tough battle. But my only fear is let there be a level playing field. Let the votes count. That's all.
Okay. Leadership is the next one here. Oshibajo's office powers not undermined, says Presidency. That's the lead story, so it's also focusing on that rift as well. They have other ones here. Senate seeks diversification from crude to natural gas production. Total to sell $750 million oil block. That's on top of the lead headline. Federal government okays 58 billion naira for Niger-Kwara bridge. And Kogi Guba, IG deploys 35,000 additional policemen. Do you think, oh, well, let me take you up on this one instead. Appeal court sacks Senate spokesman Adeyeye. So just on Monday this week, or thereabouts, we saw the sack by the appeal court of Al-Hassan Dogowa, who is majority leader in the House of Representatives. Then just yesterday, we saw the sack of Senator Adeyeye. This time around, there's no another election or another poll ordered. It's issue a certificate of return to Senator Biodun Olujimi. What do you make of the judgments that have come out so far from the Court of Appeal?
Yes, after the big prize went to the way of APC, I think there's been a lot of balancing thereafter. But I thought there was a lot of impunity also that took place in the last general elections. So if the courts are correcting some of them, okay. The only painful thing is that Adeyeye was somebody that is so popular that could normally have won an election. That is not taking anything away from Olujimi, who I've known since her days at the I think spokesperson of the APP before it became AMPP and all that. So she's also a tested war horse. And I think with the judgments coming in, it just reminds me of what happened during the time of the Yaradua era. At one point, we were convinced that the PDP made up its mind that it has to sacrifice some seats to the AC and then the APP then and all those. So there were certain governors. I know a particular governor, jokingly, that went around Abuja from one judge to another trying to settle somebody. And one person called him and said, "Why are you wasting your money? We've sacrificed your state already. It's going the other way." And he just sat down there till the morning. He heard the report that this judgment, your state has been given up. So it's as if there's a deliberate effort to balance out so that we can have a semblance of opposition. But it's okay. But that has not taken away the fact that there was a lot of impunity in the last general election. Let's face it.
Well, we already talked about the Bielsa polls, and you've given your comments on it, but perhaps just to add this one to it from leadership quickly. Jonathan Alaibe, Wike absent at Bielsa PDP mega rally. I don't know if that says anything to you, but let's leave it there for leadership newspapers. And look quickly now at New Telegraph. You see there, tension in Aso Rock over sack of Oshibajo's aides. Security officials retrieve villa access tags from 35 aides. Presidency, no plan to undermine, relegate vice president. Page 2 is where you find details. And you also see there, Atiku versus Buhari, Nwabweze out to destroy Supreme Court's reputation. That's according to Keyamo. Nati says Nigeria lost $42 billion to oil theft in 10 years. Stolen crude mounts to $38.5 billion. Domestic crude theft at $1.56 billion. Refined products lost, $1.8 billion. Do you think anyone is listening to Nati at all?
If anybody is listening to Nati, all the legal minings still wouldn't be going on at the moment. I think there's a lot of academic, but in all fairness to the young man at Nati, and even I followed Nati a lot too when both Obiese Kwesili and Fayemi were the superintendent ministries, and the guy there's a lot of things that have been done to put that sector of our economy in proper perspective and at least restore some kind of order. But some people are benefiting from the confusion. I had an instance at some point, we were trying to organize a place where I worked, and the MD said, boy, if we organize this place, it will collapse. I think they are afraid of organizing that sector of our economy because some people will stop making cheap money. That's just what I think. But there's a lot that the native guys are doing that they deserve thumbs up for.
Well, let's see what Nigerian Tribune highlights. 3 years after rejection, social media bill returns to Senate is the big one on the front page here. Look at the riders now. Offenders risk 3 years imprisonment, 150,000 naira fine. Media houses may be fined 10 million naira. Proposes 14-year jail term for sex offenders. Probe alleged extrajudicial killings at borders by customs. I think looking at the riders here, it just jumps out at people as though this is supposed to be a punitive measure, out and out to. But the government keeps saying, we don't want to gag the press.
If you follow the media angle to pay
10 million.
If you follow that narrative a little further, the sponsoring lawmaker said if they told you to pull down, no, not to publish a particular piece of information because of national security and national interest, and you go ahead there and you refuse to and go ahead and publish it, it's that's when you fall foul of that law and you're going to pay 10 million, 5 million. Now, how else do you put gagging of the press?
What is national interest? How do you determine what
national interest is? What whoever is. You know, there are several schools of national interest. It can be just the interest of the president is national interest. The interest of the national security advisor could be national interest.
Fluid.
It's very fluid.
What about the interest of the people?
The interest of the people in all these systems hardly ever matter. It's the interest of those in government that they protect. And then you say, if you publish, I mean, there's a law that says if somebody offends or if media publishes what it is. So, I mean, the VP threatened to take somebody to court, and they apologize and over whatever. But so even if the VP refuses to take that apology and goes ahead and sues, I mean, they will meet in court. There is a process with this. There are things you can, but this idea of you must not publish. Even your publisher, the chairman of this place, there are certain things he just doesn't say, don't publish. He might even advise to say, this one, have you taken a second look at it? He even gives you some freedom to do some of these things yourself. Then for government that has nothing to do, that doesn't even invest one kobo in your business, that's doing everything to choke you out of business, suddenly says, if you publish this, when we have told you not to publish, then 10 million.
So publish and be damned then.
Yes, I think some of these things we have to try. Even this law itself, we have to go to court to be tried because it's.
Well, maybe at the point of execution, the publishers themselves might say, look, I won't pay this, I can go to court.
Yes, it clearly violates our basic rights as human beings. And if you go to court, they have the instrument of coercion. They can actually shut you down.
Okay, very quick one on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Insecurity, we must go outside budget for funds, says Senate President as reps task police, others to rescue kidnapped judge. Navy urged to set up base in Ogun community to check kidnappings. Stories on page 5. We must go outside budget for funds.
But we're not thinking outside the box, really. What we are talking about is tax. There are things, our borders are short. People are into all kinds of businesses. There are several avenues for people to create wealth. But create the environment for people to create wealth. That is the thing. If you want to increase your tax, for goodness sake, let me produce and then make money to pay tax. If the environment is so choked up, there's not much of business going on. Everybody is waiting. Let's wait how this government policy will go on. There's nothing much happening. So where do you guys get it? You are not the mineral resource. Well, there's nothing. Human capital, which is the best place we can develop to make extra money from. We are not really.
All right. Who knows? Maybe they're also suggesting, well, you can spend funds without necessarily budget approval. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. You never can tell what these headlines, what they mean when they say these things.
The budget. So, the budget has been a dramatic thing. They pass it and they blackmail the lawmakers to pass it, get it on before the end of December, and they are struggling to do it without.
Okay, so there you go. That's a look at some of the dailies here this morning, and that has been with Steve Nwosu, who is the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Nigerian Express. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
All right, we're back in a moment, but we'll turn our attention to security.